Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about factory farming.
Alright, here we can see a normal factory farm versus an organic farm. In this factory farm, you can see that there are thousands of chickens confined in extremely small spaces, which is an awful condition for the animal to live in. Over here, we have a picture of an organic farm, which is actually my next door neighbor's farm, where these are free-range chickens that do not live in confined areas and live in good conditions.
Food industry makes up the largest manufacturing sector in the economy. The highest contributor of this sector is factory farming. Factory farming is a form of raising livestock using intensive methods in strictly controlled conditions.
Also, the dominant products that come out of factory farming include meat production, milk production, and egg production. Those are the main ones. That's why there's ample supply of chickens, cows, and other various animals. Some of the locations where to house all of these include rural areas and places that are near raw materials, so they'll be able to use them in the factory. As you can see from this map here, towards the Midwest around Illinois is where you have the majority of factory farms, because those are the rural areas, of course, to house all of those animals as well as the factories. But you can still see that they have spread out towards the west, and a little bit in the northeast there, upstate New York and such, and a little bit in the south, but definitely majority of them are here.
Overgrazing caused by animals in the farm can increase soil erosion, reduce soil depth, soil organic matter, and soil fertility, which in the long run can hurt the future's productivity. Large amounts of manure and urine from the domestic animals can lead to manure runoff when it rains. This can damage local water quality by increased amount of phosphates, which can lead to eutrophication in nearby lakes or rivers. The Amazon has turned over to grazing with the use of forest fires to clear the trees quickly. This results in a huge amount of carbon dioxide, which is one of the factors of greenhouse effects. Domestic livestock produce a large amount of methane gas as part of the digestive process. It is projected, according to the EPA, that the global meat production will reach 465 million tons in 2050. As you can see from the graph above my head, beef produces the most amount of CO2.
And now I'm going to discuss some of the economics of factory farming. So first we're going to start out with human illness on the job, which is caused from the chemicals and bacteria from the waste products that get into the air supply as well as the water quality, which leads to factory workers getting sick. There's been, from the EPA, I think they estimated roughly about 2.8 million cases of sicknesses that could be related to the conditions on the job. Another really big economic cost is the environmental damage, because factory farms count for about 28% of the global deforestation rate. That means almost $50 million is spent covering up all of the environmental defects that have been caused from factory farming. And lastly, one of the largest main contributors is the transport of animals, including the cattle, sheep, and others, which are about roughly 3.6 million are transported. So to make all that happen is about 2.86 million a year for each factory farm, and the EPA estimated that roughly that number will increase about 3 times in the next 10 years.
There are no laws governing the conditions that farm animals are raised in. This means that there are no standards set and the animals aren't protected by anti-cruelty laws. The Humane Methods of Livestock Slaughter Act requires that animals are unconscious and insensible to pain before they are slaughtered. However, this is a rare compliance and the enforcement of this law is inconsistent. The Animal Legal Defense Fund tries to expose violations such as these and seeks to develop legal strategies to improve current laws and implement new ones. Lobbyists have a large control over the legislator and their money. The United States Department of Agriculture sets up checkoff programs, which are funds given by producers of certain commodities to promote themselves and their products. Examples of these include the American Egg Board, Cattlemen's Beef Board, and more commonly known, the Got Milk campaign. These are set up to improve the market and increase their own demand. Commercials and campaigns are set up with these funds, and because of these advertisements, there are more attracted consumers and customers to these products, which increases the demand and therefore increases the demand for factory farms and the animals within them.
Since chickens live in small spaces, some farmers remove the beaks of chickens, turkeys, and ducks to prevent themselves from harming themselves and each other. After a study conducted by the EPA, about 65% of all hogs tested had pneumonia-like lesions on their lungs. Due to health reasons and the comfort of workers, a majority of farms remove the tails of livestock by methods of burning and masturbating. Calves often have to wear heavy chains to keep them from being too active in their confined spaces. The injection of growth hormones into livestock can hurt the animals. The fast growth of fossils in a short period of time can cause the animals physical and mental stress. To increase their weight, beef cows are fed a natural grain diet that is very hard on their bodies, causing illness, pain, and sometimes death. The Animal Welfare Act was signed into law in 1966. It is the only federal law in the United States that regulates the treatment of animals in research, exhibition, transport, and by dealers. Sadly, it does not regulate the welfare of animals in factory farming. The injection of hormones can also affect the health of humans, such as obesity, stroke, heart disease, breast, prostate, and colon cancer. Workers and nearby residents are affected by the gases from the animals and the goods from the farms. Farmers and workers have died from asphyxiation after entering underground lagoons used to store animal manure for fertilizer. Of the 5,000 deaths due to foodborne disease, 75% is caused by Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli, and Toxoplasma. E. coli and Listeria are less common, however more deadly. All these are passed through the consumption of meat.
I'm going to be talking to you about both the positives and the negatives of factory farming. Here we have some of the positives. One of the main positives is that factory farming provides readily available food for consumers. It comes to the consumer at low cost, and it is available at the nearest grocery store, so it's extremely convenient. Also, factory farming has provided accelerated growth in the food industry, which has led to extreme economic growth. This also relaxes wage good restraints for workers. Lastly, it generates employment in rural farming areas in which unemployment is sometimes an issue. This adds diversity to the occupational pattern of the rural population. Alright, and on to the negatives. First, there are bad health effects for the residents in areas near factory farms, which Adriano told you about previously. Also, factory farming damages soil, air, and land quality on our earth. Factory farms also lower the quality of life for the people that live near them. The people that live near these factory farms most of the time have to keep their windows and doors closed all day long to keep out the foul odors from the farms. Also, living near a factory farm decreases property value of people's homes. Lastly, one of the negatives is the low quality of life for the animals because of the horrible living conditions that they're forced to live in before they are slaughtered. But on a happy note, there are some solutions to the factory farming problem. First of all, you as a consumer can push for the government to have stricter animal welfare laws and regulations so that these animals are not treated like this. Also, you can choose to buy your meat, eggs, and milk from organic farms like my neighbors. Lastly, you as a consumer can make a choice to avoid factory farm food buy fewer animal products, and go meat-free when you're shopping in the grocery store. Here are our sources, and thank you.